Hi everybody, Nate here from WASD20. Today I'm going to be talking about my RPG class, So You Want to Slay a Dragon. A class all about tabletop role-playing games. You may notice that my bookshelf back here is fairly empty compared to normal. All my RPG books are gone, and that's because they are in my classroom, because I get to teach this amazing class, and well, if I do say so myself. And it's a lot of fun. And if you're confused about all of this, I recommend you go watch part 1, my RPG class vlog number 1. But basically, I'm teaching this course for 2 weeks, 3 hours a day, and days 3 and 4 is what we're going to be talking about today. Most of which was actually playing D&D. So I'll be getting into the nitty gritty of how these groups are doing, and I got to DM a little bit and how that went. So yeah, let's shrink me down here. There we go. And I think that's pretty good. Okay, so on day 3, I collected homework. You may remember that on day 2, I had assigned a homework assignment on violence and ethics in RPGs, and we have not discussed that yet. We're going to do that tomorrow, but I did collect it on day 3, and there are a couple students who did not have their homework done. Then we took some time to finish up character creation, and pretty much no time, actually. I pretty much said, if you have not finished your character yet, you should do that. Talk to your neighbors if you need a little help, and I'm going to keep going. Just work amongst yourselves. And then we talked about some of the rules basics. On day 2, I did not mention that we had actually watched part 1 and 2 of my how to play D&D videos. It's always kind of weird watching my own videos with students in class. I skipped around a little bit to skip some embarrassing or bloody parts, and yeah, or just parts that were not as relevant. So we skipped around a bit, but covered some of the basics just for students to get a feel for how the game works. And yeah, but we did not cover resting, long rest, short rest. We did not cover inspiration, I don't think. I don't think we covered actions in combat, like all the different options there are. So briefly talked about those, and didn't talk about death. We skipped over that part of the video, and I think that's actually in part 3 and 4. I recommended part 3 and 4 to some students who especially are playing magic users, but part 1 and 2 get the very basics, and that's pretty good. We talked about death because they are playing level 1 characters in the Lost Mine of Fendelver, which can get pretty brutal, especially when you have a character who has 6 or 7 hit points, which I think there was a character maybe who had 6 hit points out of the 20 students, maybe 2. So yeah, pretty brutal, and death is a very real possibility. We had a TPK there. We'll talk more about it soon. So, player tips. I busted out the player tips, which I've used before. Here's some of that. I've done some videos on this, and yeah. So I've put a lot of that stuff in video format in the past couple years, but distributed that and told the class, I'm going to take the Dungeon Masters out in the Learning Commons. We're going to be talking and just making sure everything's cool. You guys discuss these tips, ask questions, discuss at your table groups, emphasize ones you think are important, especially you experienced players, for less experienced players. And I'm not really confident they did, all of them did that very well. I think maybe some of them did, but some groups seem to have some trouble with some of that. Anyway, more on that soon. So we went over those player tips, and then I talked with the GMs and just made sure that they were all feeling okay. They were, had a few questions and just kind of, okay, how you doing? And this goes like this, and I gave a couple tips, and then we went and we played. Excuse me. We started playing and played for about 2 hours on day 3. So that was really great. The groups all had a lot of fun. I DM'd a group. The way I divided groups was mostly by experience. I tried to, break up the tables they were sitting in a little bit and get them around different people. And then I tried to think of, do I have an experienced DM? I would prefer to have one experienced DM in each group. I would prefer to have one person who has never DM'd who wants to, which I had surveyed them a couple months ago and gotten some of that information. And then I would like to have at least one person who's just like, I have no idea what a tabletop RPG is. and I think we had maybe only 2 or 3 of those people. But yeah, that was for the most part a pretty good balance. There was one group that was pretty chatty and a lot of very I don't know, a lot of very talkative people who wanted their way, opinionated people, maybe I should say. But I think they're all having fun, and that's what matters. I think it's going overall really, really well. The group that I DM'd was great. Some totally new players, some who had played a little bit, and we had a lot of fun. I ran the first dungeon for Lost Mine of Fendelver. I'm kind of proud of the fact that we got further than any other group on day 1. That's probably not something to brag about, but I do think that I've gotten pretty good at learning which parts we can accelerate because it's not very exciting. We also had one pretty chatty character in our group who tended to dominate conversations, who I kind of learned I'm gonna have NPCs actually interrupt him and some of the monsters, and that kind of helped. And he was fine. He was a great player, and he volunteered to DM the next day, which was awesome. So yeah, overall I think they all had fun. It was really good. I had fun. Busted out some of my miniatures, my bugbear, and anyway, I won't give too much spoilers for Lost Mines, but you guys probably know Phandelver anyway. So, yeah, I had never run that before, and I had never actually run a game for students before in school. I realized I've never done that, and so that's something that I'm glad I did, and I hope it's the first of many. Then we, yeah, I have here end 10 to 15 minutes early, but I didn't do that, and so I put this note in here to remind me if I teach this again to do that, because we kind of went right up until like 5 minutes before class ended, and it was like, oh, everybody come back in the room real quick, let's just quick debrief, and didn't really have much time for that. I would have liked to have more time for that, but encouraged groups to pass off to a new DM if that was possible. Some of them were kind of right in the middle of the dungeon or something like that, so that was not always possible. But my group, I did pass off to a new DM his first time. I think he did great, my impression. And another group passed off to a new DM too. And he struggled a little bit today. I think overall he did really well, but he felt pretty uncomfortable with it, I think, and did not DM the whole time. Like, what he had planned only lasted about 30 minutes or something like that. He thought it would take a lot longer. So that's a good learning experience for him, and I think he's glad he did it. And I think every time you are the first time you DM, I always tell students, you know what? You got to just do it. Excuse me, need some water. You got to just do it, and then you will know how you need to prepare better for next time. But that first time, you don't know enough about running a game, I feel like, to know what you have to do. Depends how much you've played, probably, as well. But he's a pretty new player as well, I'm pretty sure. So his group was really helpful, and the first DM took back over, actually, toward the end of today. And, oh yeah, so I'm getting into day 4 a little bit. Let's go to day 4. I covered history part 2. This is the 1974 until the early 80s. So we get up to like AD&D's release and right before the moral panic of the 80s, which we will talk about next week. Do get into that. But this is the time period that covers the release of D&D and its reception and how. So we talked about how it's received and how it's sold, and some of the problems with it, and Dragon Magazine and the Strategic Review first, and getting into some of that, and then the release of the basic set, the release of AD&D, and yeah, all interesting stuff. But I flew through that pretty quick, a lot quicker than I thought I would. We talked about Dave Arneson and his work for TSR, but then not lasting that long there, and some of that relationship. But yeah, it felt like at least it went pretty quick. Didn't take as long as, and maybe I should add to that and actually do a little more research so I can have more to say about it. I don't know. Then we did go over the player tips again, because my observation from some things I heard, some of the points could have used more emphasis from me. Things like share the spotlight, and make sure you're involving players who aren't talking as much, And also, I think tips like make a smart character, and by that I mean a character that works well with the game group. That is not, we have trouble sometimes when we make characters in isolation that they're this way and I have this very specific idea, and then that doesn't work well with another character. And there was one party in particular that was just like, oh man, how is this going to work? One very violent character, one very peaceful character, for example. And that can be fun, and I think they did have some fun with it, but it can also be a bit of a hindrance sometimes, and maybe not everyone enjoys it. I don't know, actually, how that went over, but my impression was it was a bit of a struggle, and sometimes you have to compromise. And when your character, I mentioned this in class today, when your character has a weird quirk or something that's kind of odd that could potentially be annoying, it's okay to bring that up once in a while, but at some point there's the, all right, we get the point. I used the example of a gnomish character I once played with. She just talked like super fast and really annoying, like, and it's like, okay, we get it, but you need to tone it down a little bit because we actually are going to go crazy, or something like that. Anyway, reemphasize some of those tips and just kind of encourage people to get along and compromise and play well together. I also encourage them, especially the group that's playing out in the Learning Commons. I said, we need to be a little bit careful with other people around who are just kind of walking by and observing maybe what we say, and try to keep things PG. And I don't think I used those words, but maybe I should have. And I think there's just a tendency when you have no idea what's going on and you're walking by to like get a book or make a copy, and you hear this kid talking about, I don't know, stabbing another creature, stabbing someone, right, or something like that. So we had an incident with that today, day 4, that made me a little bit nervous, and I hope there's no blowback or anything. It'll probably be fine, but I think the students, and I need to emphasize this better next time probably, and even put it in the syllabus. Hey, keep things PG here, because it's not only others who don't know, but it's also students in these groups. Some of you are less comfortable with that sort of graphic violence than others. And we're playing D&D, so it's going to be violent. This is the way it is. We're heroes who are fighting evil. And anyway, you guys get the point. So I think I need to maybe emphasize that a little better next time. Just that idea of being a bit sensitive to others who are observing, but also to people who are in the group who may be less comfortable than others with it. So overall, it went really well. We played for about another 2 hours today. I'll give you kind of a summary of how the groups are here. So the group that I was a part of, we had finished the first dungeon and kind of left it there. And then they picked up and made some progress in the town and then on the next mission. And I think they're doing really well from the sounds of it. And that DM who was new is passing off to another DM who will be new. There's another girl who's never DM'd before who wanted to try. So that's awesome. I'm really excited for just seeing new DMs give it a try. Another group that was the one that was out in the Learning Commons. I'm not sure if they're switching DMs. I'm not really sure what they're doing. But they seem to be doing well. They had some pretty hilariously awesome moments. Some pretty epic rolls and epic fails, and it was pretty fun to watch. And I think they finished the dungeon and made it back to town. And then, and this is Phandelver, the town of Phandalin. And then there was one group in the classroom that was TPK in the dungeon. I won't give any spoilers for those of you who have never played Phandelver, but they did not make it through the first dungeon. There was some abysmal rolling, and that's just the way it goes sometimes. And they're so squishy, these characters at level 1, that it doesn't take much. So it'll make for an awesome story. I had to wait so long for my first player character to die, and it was a character in a one-shot. I don't think I've ever had a character in a campaign die. I need to get more experience probably, but I've had some characters in one-shots die. And this will be just a great experience for them, a great story to tell. That basically the second day they played D&D, they had a TPK. It's the way it goes sometimes. And then the other group in the classroom, I already kind of talked about that. The first DM took over, and she kind of did a lot of improv today, and was using the book, but kind of had to improvise a lot because she hadn't been planning to DM. But I think she did great, and I think that the players are all having fun, and that's what matters. There was some I heard some pretty hilarious conversations going on, so that was really good. And I got their feedback today, and I should read some of this because it's awesome. Let's see. Oh, I shouldn't show all this though. Let me make myself bigger again. I will say a lot of these resources, again, are on my website right here, wasd20.net/RPG class. Link will be down in the video description. Let me switch back to me on camera here to conclude this thing. Bzzz. Bzzz. Okay. And I'll just read some of their responses to how things are going. Oh, what's it doing? Oh, it's not working so well. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, well, I'm still going to be able to see it, I think. Oh, this was... I'm sorry, I have the totally wrong survey. Okay, I'm just screwing up, guys, so I think I'm going to end this thing here. But I read some of their feedback, and overall it was really good. People are having fun. They're making friends. They're may have started with some awkwardness in the groups, and people are saying, like, we just really click and we get along really well. So that's amazing. And on day 4, we're going to be playing some more. The one group that had a TPK is going to be, I think they're going to be starting the Sunless Citadel. I have the Yawning Portal book, and I think a new DM is going to be giving it a shot in that group. They were rolling up new characters today for most of the class because they died pretty quick, and so they were having fun trying another character, and now they're going to be running Yawning Portal, I believe, the Sunless Citadel. So... thank you guys. For those of you who stuck around all the way to the end, you are troopers. And yeah, if you have any comments, questions, I would love to hear from you down below. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And yeah, everybody take care. You'll see me again very soon.